All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're wading into the messy, often confusing world of online arguments. You know the ones. We're going to take a real life public flame war and break it down piece by piece to understand the sneaky tactics people use, not to win a debate, but just to shut the other person down. This is going to be good. So, have you ever been there? You're in a discussion online, maybe about a movie or a political issue, and suddenly it's not about the topic anymore. Suddenly, it's about you, your job, where you went to school, how you type. Sound familiar? Yeah. Today, we're going to figure out exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how you can spot it a mile away. For our case study today, we've got two key pieces of evidence. Think of them as Exhibit A and Exhibit B. Exhibit A, it's a very public, very aggressive social media post. And Exhibit B, it's a calm, methodical breakdown of that post that serves as our guide. We're about to see what happens when hot-headed rhetoric goes up against cool-headed logic. Okay, let's start with Exhibit A. This is the post from someone we're just going to call JG. It's aimed at another person online, and right off the bat, the tone is, well, let's just say it's not exactly a friendly debate. It's something else entirely. So here it is. This is the post that kicked this whole thing off. Now, it's written in a mix of English and Tagalog, kind of like an open letter for everyone to see. You don't even need to understand every single word to feel that confrontational energy coming off of it, but we're going to pull out a few key lines that really show what the author was trying to do. Right here, this is so telling. The author straight up tells us their mission. The Tagalog phrase there, yung mga kagaya mong pretentious, just means people like you who are pretentious. So notice they're not saying I like to debate ideas or I want to correct misinformation. Nope, they say I like exposing people. That tells you everything you need to know. The goal isn't intellectual, it's personal. And you see that goal in action right here. The attack immediately zooms in on the target's personal style, their supposed pretentious English way of living. We're not talking about a specific point someone made or an argument they put forward. It's all about who they are as a person. It's an attack on the person, not the point. And this is where it really gets nasty, and the escalation is crystal clear. The post goes after the target's job, calling them a regular employee. Then it uses this really intense Tagalog phrase, a liping sagwigalid, which basically means a low-level slave or a subordinate. This isn't an argument. It's a direct shot at their social and economic status, trying to make them seem too insignificant to even have an opinion. Okay, so we've seen the fire. It was a big one. Now let's look at the fire extinguisher. It's time for Exhibit B, a professional critique that completely dissects JJ's post. And what's brilliant about it is that it totally ignores the insults and instead laser focuses on the method of the argument itself. So right away, the critique makes this crucial point. It says, look, what Gigi wrote, that's not a debate. It's not an argument. It's a textbook example of ad hominem argumentation. Now, that's a fancy-sounding term, but it is the absolute key to understanding this entire mess. And this is where the critique basically becomes our guide. It starts pointing out these classic flaws in reasoning called logical fallacies. You can think of them as like cheat codes for bad arguments. They're little tricks people use, sometimes without even realizing it, to make a weak point sound strong. So let's learn the names for them. And first up is the big one, the one you see everywhere online. It's called ad hominem. It's Latin and it literally means to the person. And that's exactly what it is. It's the classic move of making it personal. It happens when you can't beat someone's argument, so you just attack them instead. It's a total distraction. And boom, here's a perfect example right from the post. By calling the target a regular employee, JG is basically saying your job isn't important enough, so your opinion doesn't count. See, they're attacking the person's status, not the substance of what they said. That is a textbook ad hominem. All right, next up, we've got the appeal to authority. This is basically the adult version of because I said so. It's when someone uses their credentials or their status as a shield, pretty much saying, you should believe me because I have all these degrees, without actually providing any real evidence for their claim. And yep, you guessed it, we see JG do this exact thing. At the end of the post, they make sure to list their 2 bachelor's degree plus 2 postgrads. Now, there's nothing wrong with being educated, but the critique points out that here, it's being used as a weapon to shut down the conversation. It's basically saying, my education is better than yours, therefore I win. Okay, this next one is a little bit sneakier. It's called gatekeeping. This is when someone sets up some kind of arbitrary purity test, like, oh, If you were a real expert, you'd know this one specific thing. It's a way to move the goalposts and kick someone out of a group so you don't have to listen to them. And here is JG doing exactly that. They use this very specific piece of knowledge, the Russell Group of Universities, as a test. The hidden message is, you don't know this one little detail? Well then, your entire experience of studying in the UK must be fake, and I can just ignore everything you say. It's a classic gatekeeping move. So after breaking down all these dirty tricks and fallacies, the critique is ready to deliver its final verdict on JG's post. So what's the fundamental difference between what JG was doing and what a real, actual debate is supposed to look like? Well, the critique just lays it out perfectly with this side-by-side comparison, a real, logical rebuttal. It focuses on facts and data. The goal is to find the truth. But what JG was doing, this status-based attack, is all about humiliation. The goal isn't to be right, it's to outclass the other person, to feel superior. Two totally different games. And here's the final nail in the coffin. The critique actually admits that JG might have had a valid point in there somewhere, maybe about using AI or something, but it didn't matter. Why? Because that point was completely buried under a mountain of elitist rhetoric. The way they tried to argue completely destroyed their own message. And if you need one last memorable summary, well, the critic actually gave the post a score for its communication skills, and that score was a -3 out of 10. Yeah, a -3. I think that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? So you might be thinking, okay, cool story, but why does any of this matter to me? Because knowing these fallacies is like having a superpower. Seriously, it helps you spot a weak argument from a mile away. It protects you from people trying to manipulate you, and most importantly, it makes you a better, sharper, more persuasive communicator because it forces you to focus on what really matters, the ideas, not the insults. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. When it really comes down to it, in any real discussion or debate, what do you think is actually more powerful? The list of degrees after your name, or the clarity and respect you bring to the conversation?